Happy Monday. Hope you all had a great weekend. Millions of families around the world are struggling with trying to conceive. Conception can require a lot of trying, which can take the fun out of the process for couples and even add to a decreased libido for both partners. And in addition, many people struggle with infertility due to environmental exposures. Many environmental chemicals mimics hormones, which can also impact a person's libido. That's why we're so excited to speak on IG Live today with Samantha Sanchez, a board certified wellness coach. During this live, we're going to discuss the causes of low libido, how to help balance your hormones to improve your sex drive, ways to reconnect with your body and to notice red flags, and much more. I saw Samantha. Here you are. Hello. Hi, Samantha. Thank you
Hi.
so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's so nice to meet you face to face.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I mean, libido is so important, not just for fertility, but for literally everything.
Yeah.
And it's also something people don't really talk about. So we're like super, super excited to talking to you today about it.
Yes, I'm so excited too. And you're right, it's not a lot of times we don't address it unless we're trying to have a baby. And so I do think it's something really important that we need to talk more about.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, like how you became a board certified wellness coach.
Well, I like a lot of wellness practitioners, my own health journey kind of brought me here. And so I was dealing with my own health issues in my mid 20s and so after addressing those and finding like a more holistic way of feeling better in my body, I just wanted to help kind of generally I jumped into this like wanting to just help people feel better. Help, people feed their families healthier foods and things like that. And over the years, it's really narrowed to working with women who are dealing with menstrual cycle issues. And that can look like painful periods, heavy periods, missing periods, cyclical acne as well. And so that it has taken its form over the years, narrowing down to focus on that.
That's so cool because I felt like when a health practitioner have their own experience, their own health journey to become a health coach, they always can relate to their patients much better and then really offer this personalized approach and then make people feel comfortable in addition to really helping them with their
For
conditions.
sure. I think that empathy is like a really important piece and like being able to relate with what people are experiencing. Yeah.
That's amazing. So what role did gut health play in balancing your skins and hormones? Because you mentioned about skins and hormones and the cyclic acne and all these
Yeah.
stuff.
So I was dealing the symptoms that were kind of like the first layer of the symptoms that were frustrating to me were like extreme exhaustion and then I'm blanking. Extreme exhaustion and stomach pain. That's what it was. I was dealing with a lot of stomach pain, and then underneath that, there were like I had painful periods, and didn't really even
Mm,
that was a problem. Like I thought, oh, like everybody complains about having cramps, and
yeah.
so it's normal for me to just take painkillers every single month when I know my period is going to show up. So I was dealing with those symptoms and initially got into gut health because I was going to doctors and I was complaining about feeling tired all the time and dealing with the stomach pain. And I would get tests done, but they were just like general
Mm.
blood and they would tell me like, no, you're healthy. But the problem was I felt awful. And I knew there had to be another way because I was just not able to enjoy my life. And so I kind of fell into learning about gut health because of that. And there was an analogy that was introduced to me really early on that I found really helpful. And it was this idea that like our body is not like a machine.
Mhm.
It's not really helpful to dissect our body into systems and parts and then try to fix that part and expect it all to work together. And so I liked the analogy of like our bodies being like a garden and
Mhm.
or like an ecosystem and everything is working in like symbiotic relationship with each other. And it's actually helpful to zoom out and view ourselves as a whole and to support the whole system in order to, see improvement in these different areas. And so if our bodies are like a garden, then our gut would be like the soil. Mm-hmm. And so obviously soil is everything, and we can't grow nutrient dense food in depleted soil. And then the animals that are eating those plants are not going to be as healthy. And then the humans that are eating the plants and the animals are not going to be getting as many nutrients as they would in plants and animals grazing on nutrient dense soil. So that analogy was really helpful to me. And so I definitely believe that like that focus on gut health was kind of like creating a solid foundation for my hormones and my skin to clear up, my hormones to balance out. And actually, when I initially was looking into gut health and trying to support my body in that way, I was really focused on the stomach pain and increasing energy. And I didn't see anything else as like an issue to be addressed at the moment. But as I improved my gut health and focused on that, I saw these like side effects, these positive side effects. And so my period pain went away, and I was like, oh, there's a connection between my gut and my hormones. And that was kind of like my window into, holistic health.
That is amazing. So today we're talking about low libido. And I'm assuming because, as you mentioned, your body is kind of like a garden, a symbiotic relationship. I'm assuming libido also, low libido probably have something to do with that too. But first, like, what are some common causes that the person like may experience like low libido in both like men and women?
Well, there are a lot of like what I would consider like top tier causes, and then we can talk about like going beneath that. But a lot of like common causes, obviously stress is a big one. I mean, we hear about that, and we'll go into that a little bit because not at the moment, but because it can be kind of stressful to hear that stress is affecting. But stress is a big one. Hormonal birth control is another really big one. And then, of course, low testosterone, low progesterone, estrogen dominance, like all of these imbalances affect the way that we feel, and they affect, how much energy we have, and then our desire for a partner. And so I look at them as kind of like more symptoms. Like I look at like if I'm dealing with low testosterone, I look at that as actually a symptom, and I want to ask why. Why am I dealing with like why is my body responding to maybe stress in this way? Or why is my body not producing enough progesterone? Am I not ovulating? Mm-hmm. Or why is my body not ovulating? And so we start to dig below those kind of like initial causes that we think of, and we're like, actually that's not the root cause. That's actually another symptom, or a way that my body is responding to something else, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yep.
So we always want to like dig a little bit deeper below that. And when we start peeling back those layers, what I see often as the root causes of low libido being like lifestyle that lacks support, or just a general lack of support in the you, undernourishment, and that's often in minerals and protein. A lot of women not getting enough protein, sometimes carbs too, like that whole low carb, fad, like not helping your libido or your fertility. And then also unnecessary stressors. That can be physical stressors, like your detox organs are overloaded, or it can be emotional stressors too. All of it's like impacting our body. And so we can look at stress, in multiple ways. And then also like not feeling deeply seen or appreciated or understood is another huge one. And like if you're feeling like that, it's a libido killer.
Okay. Okay. Now let's go into like deeper topic like you just mentioned. Like, okay, one is the period issue. So do you think that irregularity with period can also play a role in depleting a person's libido?
Yes, for sure. And there can be like there can be different reasons um for irregularity in
Mm-hmm.
your and so usually like one of the first things I'm going to teach my clients is how to start tracking their cycle and how to track really read the signs of their fertility or lack of. And so that's like a starting point, and it gives really important information so that you know what's going on. So like if we were to just give an example, like let's say that you're not having a regular period, not really sure when it's going to show up, and maybe your cycle is super long. So you're going, 35, 40, 45 days and your period's not showing up. This could be caused by different things. Let's say that, you're experiencing that. I would encourage you to first find out if you're ovulating.
Mm-hmm.
And not ovulating, you're going to have low progesterone, and low progesterone is a common cause of low libido. And so we want to check that first. And you can check, or confirm ovulation multiple ways. You can use a basal body temp tracker, which I love. You can confirm ovulation that way. You can confirm it using like luteinizing hormone strips. And then going a little bit deeper, checking cervical mucus and seeing, is your body producing enough cervical mucus? It can also be, an estrogen issue that's um, like if estrogen isn't rising at a high enough clip, your body may not ovulate, and then your body might try again and then you may not ovulate, and that can cause a delayed period as well. So I personally feel like um what a lot of people refer to as like body literacy, like understanding like what is happening with your body every single month or every single cycle, and then learning how to read those like personalized signs of fertility in your body, and being able to, to understand based on that, oh, like these hormones are probably low, these hormones are probably, not robust, and then going from there. But it's definitely like can play a role, to go back to your original question, a role in libido, because the results of the hormones that um that are keeping you from having a regular period, those such as low progesterone definitely impact libido and your desire for sex.
That makes sense. I also think the measuring your basal metabolic temperature is like so easy. It's really cheap
Yeah.
to do versus you have to buy additional things. And then I also think not only measuring the basal body temperature not only help you track your fertility, everything, it's also if you're actually getting sick or something, you can also
Yeah.
see from that temperature. So
Yeah.
I feel like it really should become a routine for anyone, for all women actually. Even when
Yeah.
you're like just starting your period until you finish, until you go through menopause and everything, this could be a really nice routine for everybody to implement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's like such an easy way to like
Mhm.
connect with your body, and to like to understand what exactly is happening, and like, oh, my temp went up and therefore I had yeah, I ovulated, and you can confirm those things. And even using multiple pieces, like confirming with your basal body temp, and then also
Yeah.
the luteinizing hormone strips. It's like kind of fun to like, oh, this is really cool. It's not just like a chart on a piece of paper anymore.
Yeah, yeah. You also mentioned about birth control. So have you found that, women transitioning off of birth control struggle with low libido sometimes?
So usually what I see are women who are on birth control dealing with low libido. Like it's
Mm.
like flatlining hormones, it's disconnecting your brain and your ovaries. And so it can, and actually Sarah Hill,
Hmm.
her book, yeah, your brain on hormones, I think it is. No, I'm not your brain on hormones, your brain on birth control. That makes, yeah, Sarah Hill, your brain on birth control. Yeah, she talks about how birth control can affect even like your attraction to your partner. And so I've actually seen like where it's helpful to come off of birth control in order to increase your libido. And of course, there are women who coming off of birth control can experience symptoms. Also, if you went on to birth control in order to suppress certain symptoms, then, you can see those symptoms come back because the root cause of them hasn't been addressed. And that could affect your libido. So I can see like scenarios where coming off, and that irregularity that you're experiencing, your hormones are trying to balance back out. There may be a time of dealing with low libido after coming off, but usually I see it as actually helpful to birth control.
All of these feels like, kind of doom and gloom, and it's like complicated. It's really hard. But I know you have a lot of very empowering posts encouraging women to reconnect their bodies to improve their sex drive. So what does it mean to you? Like, what are some ways that women can reconnect to their bodies?
Yeah, I think like this is like such a foundational key piece. And for a while I felt like there's like a missing piece in what I'm like offering my clients. And I so my idea of reconnecting with your body is that the reason why we need reconnection is because so much of society is serving to disconnect us. And age, and I'm sure this is true for all people, although I feel like it must especially be true for women. But as children, we're taught to like for other people and to be nice, and so there can be like this subtle disconnection when we're young, like not even maybe speaking our truth. And then we have our first period, and a lot of what we're taught is kind of scary, like, oh, you can get pregnant at any day. And and it's actually not true. And what things that are true, sometimes we're just it's the kind of like the energy of what we're being taught is fearful. And then not being about like what's going on with our bodies, what are our hormones doing throughout the cycle, and how does that feel, and what is normal, what is healthy, and when should I ask for help. So there's all this disconnection, and then a lot of times young women, young teens are put on birth control before even their cycles have fully balanced out. And it can take years for that to happen when you're, starting your period at 11, 12, 13 years old. And so then there's this further disconnection between your brain, your ovaries, before it's even balanced out.
Yeah.
And so that to me is the reason for the need for reconnection. And then, is the question how to do it. I used to, talk with clients in the past, like about listening to their bodies. And a lot of times I'd be like, what do you mean by that? How do I like listen to my body? And so this is kind of my retake on listening to your body, is reconnecting with it. And like when it comes down to it, just like really simply, it's about listening and listening to the messages that your body is sending through symptoms. And it can be as simple as asking, how do I feel? And then what does my body need? And even asking your body, like, what do I need? What comes to mind in this moment? And it can be as simple as that. And it actually has to start really simple. Like, how do I feel in this moment? And maybe what I need is like a drink of water. Or maybe I need like to ask, for someone to babysit the kids so I have a few minutes to myself. Really as simple as that. And then it's also that, discernment piece of, and as you do it over time, you can hear in a sense what your body needs more and more easily. And it's, yeah, discerning, it's asking and noticing and then discerning what it is your body actually needs moment by moment.
I also feel that oftentimes if people can recognize some of their body's red flags, that could be
Yep.
the first step, because it might take a little bit of time for them to listen to their body for really subtle, small differences. But then some of the major red flags, people should really start paying attention. So what might this look like for someone, who's trying to pay better attention to these signs? Like, what are these red flags that people should be thinking about?
Yeah, I mean, red flags are like, honestly, like a lot of times red flags, these like more blaring red flags come up because we haven't been listening. We've been kind of suppressing, or we're on autopilot. And so like as we learn to reconnect with our bodies, we don't have so many of these blaring red flags. But like your period shouldn't be super painful. Like that's a flag if you're, having to take painkillers and you're,
Mhm.
non-functional during your period, that's a big red flag. Or if you're like raging the week before your period and you just like can't control your anger, that's a huge red flag. um if you've totally like lost your libido and like you're like, this feels like different than it did 6 months ago. And that, I think too, like as we get used to this as well, we notice more subtle changes. I'm like, oh, that was different. And maybe I do like to also, say that we don't necessarily want to pathologize everything. Like,
Yeah.
we get on Google and like, oh my gosh, I have this or I have that. And we don't necessarily need to make like a big story about the red flag, although it is good to, like, if you're noticing big changes, of course, you know, seek testing, seek help. Like that's great. And like we don't necessarily need to pathologize everything that we're feeling and creating like these scary stories around it, but calming ourselves enough to, ask what it is that we need in this moment. And, in the bigger picture, we may be seeking larger, like more support from practitioners. But like in this moment, there are smaller things that we can do to support ourselves.
Yeah, these stories can also increase your stress and anxiety, which then it's like a double whammy. Like,
Yeah, yes, for sure. Yeah. And
so
oh,
go ahead,
I
go
was
ahead.
just thinking that like like so many of us are told, to manage our stress or reduce our stress, and it can feel really stressful. Yeah, you know, often feel like, well, I can't get rid of my kids. I don't want to get rid of my kids, but like there's stress that is like, you're working through things with your partner, and there can be like stressors, and those are good to work through. And so no, it's not that all these outside stressors are bad and we need to get rid of all of them in order to feel good. It's more about helping our bodies respond to stress in healthier ways.
Mhm.
Oh,
You mentioned the testing. So, for people who are trying to figure out these like red flags, and I think the testing can kind of help them solidify their suspicions or like confirming these red flags. So what are some tests you would recommend to people who like want to balance their hormones?
yeah.
Oh, looks like Samantha is breaking up a little bit. Oh, here you are. You're back.
Okay, good. Usually we can tell like which hormones are imbalanced based on symptoms that you're experiencing. And so a lot of times I'll recommend well, I'll say that like the hormone tests can be helpful in confirming, what you think that you're experiencing. And sometimes for people that can be helpful to like see it on paper and to feel that validation. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't tell us why. And we always want to dig underneath, like, okay, like that's great. Now we know that these hormones are imbalanced and your symptoms are saying that too. And now why are they imbalanced? And so there's going to be um mineral imbalances and gut imbalances are what I see as the like root causes underneath that when it comes to testing. So those are like the hair tissue mineral analysis. The IMAP can be really helpful in like letting you know what imbalances are in place that are contributing to the hormonal imbalance. And so I look at those as really helpful tests. And then those accompanied with addressing what comes on those tests, accompanied with lifestyle shifts. Like we've got to live differently if we're going to experience a different or have a different experience in our bodies.
I felt like this is like a second level. Okay, people need to get themselves educated, increase some this, period literacy or health literacy in general, then started working with a healthcare professional like you. So to sort it out, because I suspect it'll be even if you have access to these tests, like figuring out what the tests actually mean to you, and then also the next step is hard. You and then also you don't want to just like ask Dr. Google for these things, right? Like you want someone with professional knowledge to guide you through this process.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, like having that personal support and guidance is so important because a lot of our society lacks that community, the community wisdom holder, healers that pass that on to us. And so it's so helpful to have somebody with you and like, cheering you on and supporting you. And you can also build that in your life as well. But I agree that it's also that like relational aspect of moving through information and then learning how to embody it and interpret it and apply it for yourself.
So, how can someone work with you?
Well, I have a new mentorship that I'm coming out with in this fall, called Reclaiming Womanhood. And we're really going to focus in on the body literacy side of things and how to really tune into the signs of fertility within our body, really understand our menstrual cycles, and then how to responsibly and confidently use fertility awareness method in order to prevent or plan for pregnancy. So that's coming up this fall. And then I also offer a one-on-one program that I take my one-on-one clients through to do all of this as well.
So people can just DM you on the IG and also go to your website.
Yep.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing all these tips, but please let us know when that program in the fall is coming out so we'll make sure we promote.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate this conversation. Thank you for facilitating it.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Take care.